And now, introducing tonight's main attraction. It's the Never Beens podcast.
Okay, so our plan was, now I'm talking, you total moron. God. Basically, this is how it goes. All he does is just blame me for everything that goes on.
You're an easy target.
Whatever you say, buddy.
Glenn, you want to introduce the people?
Absolutely, I do.
I mean,
welcome to, what are we calling this? Is this Never Beens week 4.5, Never Beens bonus episode?
I think we need to stop saying like a number because we're not organized and
I was just
never
trying to keep up with you. So you told me to stop. You got it.
You stop.
Anyway, very excited to have a good friend of ours. Obviously, his resume speaks for itself, but one of, if not the best linebacker of all time. And again, very blessed to call him a friend, Mr. Luke Kuechly. Welcome to the Never Beens.
Clanch, why is your background so much better than Bryce's? You got no display back there.
He's got footballs and Super Bowl rings and all kinds of crap. I got some Etsy painting that I got shutters. So not custom though. Those look money.
Big time.
Luke, welcome on, buddy. How you doing?
I'm good. Just before Bryce got in, we were talking about youth football. We got a big practice tonight. This is the last week of the regular season, and playoffs start next week. So Bryce knows how much time I spend drawing plays for youth football. So we've got some new stuff going in on defense tonight, some new alignments. We're actually practicing on a lined field tonight, which will help because most of the time we're practicing on this little field that we play on. It's difficult to see lines, so kids have no idea where landmarks are or anything. So we tell them to run down the hash. They can't see the hash, and we get mad at them because they can't see the hash. And it's not actually their fault because there's no hashes on the field. So today there'll be no excuse for wrong landmarks on the field. So it'll be fun. It's on turf. It'll be a lot of fun for the kids. We're going to have a little pizza party tonight after practice and get the kids going.
Where's the practice?
What's that?
What field?
Panthers.
Oh, you're on the Panthers practice field.
Yeah, Panthers bubble.
In the bubble? That's
yeah.
What kind of pizza?
That's awesome.
How's
the squad doing this year? I know
pretty good. So week one
this summer.
Yeah, week one was a struggle. We played a team from Odell, which is in northeast, right, Bruce? Northeast Charlotte, up Concord area.
Yep.
They were big, they were fast, they were strong. They had a really good player that just kind of did everything. He could run it, he could catch it, he could play defense, he played linebacker. We weren't super organized. We were organized as coaches, but we didn't have a great plan. So that a lot of that falls on us. We had like 4 kids get hurt the first 2 weeks of the season. So once the regular season rolled around, we were banged up going after training camp, going into week one. And it's kind of the perfect storm. We kind of got it handed to us a little bit, but
that's kind of on you, Luke.
Yeah, no, that's what I said.
You didn't get them right in the offseason.
Our defensive plan was not sound, and they took it to us a little bit. So
I'm talking more weight room, off-season training. You didn't have them right. You didn't have them in shape, ready for the season.
We didn't do enough. We didn't do enough plyometric change of direction. Make sure kids are in shape in the 95-degree heat of Charlotte. So.
Did you play any medicine ball volleyball like we used to play? No,
we didn't do any of that. We should have done. We probably should have done some more conditioning for the kids. That's another reason why it's on us. We did a lot of teaching, a lot of formation recognition, and then not enough conditioning, not enough making sure the kids are in shape. So, like I said, that first game, we thought we had a great plan, and then we realized that we didn't do a good enough job of helping the kids out this summer and making sure they're in a good position. So it's kind of on us.
You got
I like how this guy sits here on his high horse, shaking his head as if he's got any clue what's going on.
I'm the number one fan in Charlotte. When I find out Luke's been training these kids 5 months in a row, no offseason, and then they get absolutely dominated week one. As the fan, I'm disappointed.
Hey,
pro football.
It's all about looking at yourself and figuring out what's going on. So the last few weeks we've been really good. I think we'll be we should maybe get a bye the first week. If not, we'll go play somebody. And last year was really cool. We ended up going to Florida for the Pop Warner Championship down in Orlando. So I don't know how many games in Charlotte. It'll be 3 or 4 games to win the city championship. And then there's maybe 1 or 2 regional games. And if you win the region, then you go down to Florida. So it was a ton of fun. The playoff round last year was it was awesome. You know, you're getting ready for teams. The kids are getting excited. The weather's changing. It feels like football season. And we just had a ton of fun. So hopefully we're starting to get some kids back healthy. The weather's cooling off. I think we've got a pretty good feel for what kind of kids we have. Our kids are freaking awesome. They play hard. They're all super smart. They love football. And we've made a lot of strides since that first game. So it's been great. We spend way too much time messing around on it, but I don't know what else I'd be doing. So it's perfect.
Well, for the listeners, I don't know if y'all said this before, but Luke's talking about, is it 12U?
12U, yeah.
12U team that he coaches in Charlotte with Greg Olson and Greg's dad.
Yeah, and then Josh and Ben and Daniel, a couple other coaches too.
So they got a full staff running these kids into the dirt. What's the record? 4-1?
We are. What are we? I think we're 3-1, 2, 3. I think we're 3-1. Yeah, 3-1.
Okay. Well, there you go. Getting primed for a long playoff run.
Getting ready, and we're getting healthy too. That's the biggest thing. But yeah, the kids are awesome. The parents are awesome. We have a ton of fun doing it.
Very nice. Well, you know, you guys are getting ready for the playoffs. NFL-wise, they're just kind of getting into the meat of the season. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've been doing with the Panthers, what's going on there, and get a little Panthers update?
Yeah, so I do the radio with the team. So I've got 12 games this season. I've done, how many have I done? I think done 3 so far. You know, obviously we've struggled so far this season. That's pretty easy to see based on our record. But when you really kind of look and see what's going on, we've had a couple guys from the 2020 draft class that have done a really good job in the last couple games. I think Yetur was the guy that we drafted in the second round out of Penn State, who's done a really good job the last few weeks. He's been disruptive. He's had a few sacks the last few weeks, and you start to feel him more in games. So that's a positive. Derek Brown's just a problem inside. He plays, I don't know how many snaps he plays, but I bet he's 75 to 80% of snaps. And for a guy that weighs 330 pounds, that's pretty impressive. Adam Thielen's been fantastic.
He's been great.
Yeah, we're just a little bit banged up right now. That's the thing that's kind of hurt us a lot. You look on both sides of the ball. Obviously, Shaq, that was a tough one for us. Obviously, the Monday night game, that hurt a lot. Yeah, he broke his leg, but everything's good. He had a fork. I mean, he got his leg fixed. He's good to go. We lost Xavier Woods, which was a safety for us. He's just a really good veteran presence, has a great feel, knows where to be. He's active in the pass game, but he's just smart and like a guy that you throw back there and like you don't worry about him. And then JC Horn's been banged up, and that just anytime you lose starters, especially on the perimeter with DBs, it's difficult, especially in the league now with everyone spreading it out and throwing the ball. And the guys that we played the last few weeks, and you look at we played Seattle with DK, Mike Thomas, the guys in Atlanta are all big. Everybody that we've played has been a big body. Justin Jefferson last week. So you know how it is across the league. You don't get a break from good receivers. So CJ Henderson's a really good athletic young guy for us. Dante's been good. He's been a little bit banged up. So that's the name of the game on our team right now, is being banged up. But I thought defense last week played extremely well. We took it to Minnesota pretty well. We forced some turnovers. We didn't let any of those guys really get off. Justin Jefferson was under 100. He had 2 touchdowns, which you can't have, but we held him to 14 points. We forced some turnovers. We scored on the defensive side of the ball.
And scored on defense, which is, you do that. And
I think Ajero Evero is a stud. I think he's super smart. He understands what's going on. I think he relates with the players really well. I think we were very fortunate to get him. And then you look on the offensive side of the ball, I think people are starting to kind of bag on Bryce, but if you go to practice and you watch him during games, he knows how to play quarterback. He knows what he's doing. He knows where to look. He knows his reads. He can navigate the pocket. He can make all the throws in the world. But then again, on offense, we've been banged up. We lost Brady week 1, and Austin Corbett hopefully is coming back in the next few weeks. So those are our inside two guards. So right now we're playing some young guys that have shown flashes of being really good. But you know how the league goes with young guys. You just got to kind of you got to bring them along. You got to teach them. So we're working on that. I really like our offensive staff. We've got, the guy we drafted this year in the second round, Mingo, big, strong, kind of Anquan Bolden-ish, as far as side speed, skill set in the slot. He's been banged up too. So we've just had a ton of injuries, and that's slowed us down in a lot of ways. But I still like our team a lot. I like our coaches. I like where we're at. We just got to find ways to make a few more plays on both sides of the ball to put ourselves in position. But, new staff, young quarterback, got a lot of confidence in what we have over there. We just haven't seen it all come together yet. But one of these days it's going to pop, and when they get rolling, we'll be in good shape.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Great political answer. You say all the right things, but they're 0-4 and they don't score any points. What's the actual problem?
Okay, hold on. No, hold your horses. Hold your horses. Okay, because I want to just know a couple things he said. And playing quarterback in the NFL is very difficult. It's really hard when you miss a game, your third game of your career. You don't really find and get into that rhythm. And then to hear all the injuries that he's been talking about, let's just pump the brakes and slow down, like Luke said, and wait and see. Because obviously there's no arguing from anyone here that Bryce is very talented and he can play. I mean,
I'm not arguing that.
I know
what my stance is.
I know what your stance is. You're a hater, and you are
Correct.
Mr. Troll.
Yeah, but I'm not trolling. I'm speaking not as a player. I'm speaking from the fan base and what's going around Charlotte and honestly the country and the world, right? Obviously, he answered the Bryce part, and I agree with that. I don't think Bryce should be blamed for anything. Football is a very multivariable sport. But at what point do you start to hit the panic button on either that or someone else? Coaching staff,
I think
calling, like what's going on? How do you not score? You scored one touchdown in 2 home games, and it was in garbage time.
Yeah,
that's a problem.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure that's something that obviously you got to score points in the NFL to win. But when you watch the game, and I get to watch a lot of them, the plays everything's right there. And for whatever reason, it's like, boom, like one thing here, one thing there. And that's age. That's always going to happen in the game of football. Everybody's like, well, yeah, we didn't make this, but we were super close. And it'd be one thing if there's one thing to be, hey, we're super close. And then there's another thing to be like, yeah, we're just not good enough. And I think then that's when you hit the panic button, and you're not just good enough for a lot of reasons. Maybe your scheme's not good enough, or your players aren't good enough, or it's a dysfunctional environment at the stadium. But I don't think that we have any of those things right now. And obviously the only thing that matters in the NFL is winning. But there's also little things that you look at, that you look for, like you look for positives, right? Okay, how did Bryce play in certain situations in the game? The second half of the game, at one point, I think he was 15 of 15. And with that pressure and that defense that Flores had, it says a lot of things. Boom, he's getting more confident. He's seeing things really well. The ball's not coming out. And I think one thing that everybody knocked him for was, hey, how many of his balls are going to get batted down? He's 5'11" or whatever he is. And I think he's played 3 games. I think one ball has been batted, and that was a ball that we had inside pressure right away, and there wasn't really – the guy just made a play. It didn't matter if he was 6'6" throwing the ball. So I think he's proven a lot of people wrong and things that they were going to knock him for, as far as, hey, can he see things? Can he make throws, or balls can get batted? I think he's crossed all those off. I think he's been efficient when he's needed to. He's navigated the pocket really well. So I think Bryce is going to be fine. And then the not scoring part, I mean, week 1, you open on the road with a bunch of young guys. Then you got to go play in Seattle. I thought there was some plays in the Minnesota game that we had right there. And for whatever reason, like maybe a guy slipped, or we just like barely missed on a block, or we were just a second late with something. But to me, that says is, boom, our guys are seeing it. They're in the right spot. We're scheming stuff up. We can go all the way back to week 2, the first game that I did. We had a couple plays that weren't just open because a guy won. They were open because they got schemed up. We had a backside like hide play. We had a double move against Minnesota at the end of the game when they went 0. I think it was the second to last play of the game. Thielen broke it in, ran a slant, pumped, and we went vertical. And for whatever reason, we just weren't quite able to get it out there. So all the stuff's right in front of us on the offensive side of the ball. And I think it's one of those things where it's not going to be, it's going to be like this. And then I think it's going to do that quickly rather than, I don't think we're one of those teams where it's going to come and then slowly do that. I think Bryce is going to figure out, and Burst is Hayden. I think it's one of those things, once we start to like getting a little bit more flow, I think you get Corbett back, you slide him back in, another veteran presence. I think we're going to be fine, because if you look at our skill positions, new offense comes in, Thielen's new, Hayden Hurst is new, DJ Chark's new, Miles Sanders is new. So like four of your top 5 skill guys are all Mingo, brand new. So these guys all got to get used to playing with each other. And you guys know, especially you, Garrett, that timing in the NFL is the only thing that matters. And just the more reps we get at it, the more comfortable we're going to get. I'm bummed, and I don't want to be 0-4, but I'm confident with where we're at with the guys on our team, organization, Coach Reich's a stud, and Bryce. And we just got to, and I'm one of those guys, just give it a little bit of time. Because I go back and I think about my first like 3 or 4 games in the NFL is terrible. And that doesn't mean I'm talking to anybody in particular. It's more of just,
JJ told us he had like 100 tackles by game 8. So I beg to differ, but we'll move on.
It just takes some time to like get it going. And like, for me, it's like, just give the guys some time, let them figure it all out. And when we do, we'll be fine.
It's a different game. I mean, it truly is. It's a different game. I'll give you, if you have something to add, I was going to say, let's move on, because all you're going to do is troll. But
no, 2 quick things. Bryce didn't play in the Seattle game, and it felt like they opened up the offense more. Now, I don't know if that could be
Andy Dalton's been playing football for 13 years, right? I mean,
so the question is there a leash on Bryce? Like, are they like, let's?
I'm not there. I'm not there enough. I'm not there enough to know. Could it be that? Could it be, they had some good matchups that they liked, or they felt good about certain things? I don't know.
Okay. And then the other thing is, the rumors are Fitter's aggressively trying to get a wide receiver 1 in a trade. I mean, is that really the problem? I don't think so. Like you said, they already added all these guys in the draft and free agency. Like, is adding a T. Higgins or someone really going to change that offense that much?
I think having more good players obviously helps your situation, right? I think if you get a guy that's, a quote 1, I'd imagine that he is going to help out. His skill set will help out. But I mean, it's just one of those things you don't ever talk about in the NFL of like, well, if we had this guy or that guy. It's no, you talk about what's on your roster and how we utilize these guys to the best of their ability. So I know that Scott and Dan and all those guys are up there. They're trying to put together the best roster they can at all times. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're looking for the next best corner, the next best inside guy, the next best defensive end, the next whatever you want it to be. I'm sure they're always looking to upgrade every spot on the field. So I'm sure their eyes are open for something. But I think right now you just worry about, as a fan, as a player, as a person in the building, you worry about what's on the roster now, because that's what we've got, and we got to make that work.
Yeah. Just to add to that just a little bit, just speaking from my personal experience, I know you guys were both in Carolina for your whole career, but to kind of add on what Luke just said, every time I was in a situation where I was looking either practice squad here or practice squad there after camp or something like that may happen, and I was, cut or, whatever it may be, my agent used to remind me all the time, the quickest path to the field is within the organization you're already in. And I think that kind of speaks to what Luke was just talking about. It probably differs a little bit by position for sure, but they're always trying to develop what they have in the building.
Well, there's a good example of that on our team right now. So we drafted Terrace, what is that, 2021? He's in year 3. First couple of years, first of all, Terrace is a great kid. He's smart. He works hard. He's big. He's long. He's got great traits. He was really good at LSU. And he just didn't have the opportunities that he needed the last 2 years. And now this year, I think he had 8 or 9 catches on 10 targets last week. So that's like I don't think you ever give up on the guys that you have on your team. You just got to, like you said, you got to keep working with the guys. There's a reason why we drafted him. The guys that drafted him, and I'm talking about Scott, are still here. So you got to just give these guys a second. And sometimes it's more difficult than others, but He's big, he's long, he's athletic. And, you look at, here's another guy that came in with Burse and I. Josh came in with us, Burse, right?
Yep.
So we came in 2012. Josh played well. And then in 13, he was better and he was kind of on and off. And then at the end of 2014, at the end of his third year, all of a sudden he just turned into lockdown, like strap dudes up, no problems at all. And it's one of those things where, and then 15, obviously he blew up and whatever.
This is Josh Norman.
Yeah. I sometimes think that you just got to give guys a chance to come along a little bit. They got to think about it. They go from growing up and being in one state their whole life to then boom, they go somewhere completely different. Their family's not there. Their friends aren't there. It's a new environment. Maybe they struggle a little bit early and then they got to get their confidence back. And then once they do, boom, now they're just back to the same old player that they were. And I think that's what we just got to make sure that we're giving guys a chance to come in, get comfortable, give them an opportunity, make them safe, coach them, give them opportunities to make plays where they feel comfortable, and then boom, go.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely a balance there. Tell us a little bit about we've talked about the Panthers now. Tell us a little bit about some of the other teams you've been watching this year. I would like to get what I'd really like to get is your perspective on some of these high flying these offenses that have become such a force in the league. But who's impressed you so far? I know team wise and player wise this year from around the NFL.
Well, obviously Buffalo. I mean, you guys all know we've got tons of connections up there. You look at obviously, Bean and McD up there kind of running the show. And then Shula's up there. Dorse is the offensive coordinator. Joe Brady, who was with us in 20 and 2021, is the quarterback's coach with Josh. And then on the defensive side of the ball, we know all those guys, Eric Washington, Al Holcomb, Babbage. I'm sure I'm missing some dudes up there, but I always watch those guys. And I was a little bit, obviously Aaron went down week 1 against them and they ended up losing that game. And I was like, what is going on? And I think it just speaks, number one, to the Jets defense is solid. Mm-hmm. But then the last few weeks they've been dominant. They beat Miami big. I think Josh is just really good. He can sling it around, he can run, and he's one of those quarterbacks, when you line up against him, he scares you for a lot of reasons, right? He can make every throw. Nothing's got to be clean for him. He can escape the pocket, right? He can run. And then the thing that's super difficult about him is he's so big and strong that you can't just push him over. There's quarterbacks that can make all the throws and get out and run, but then you bump them and they fall down. And you're like, okay, we can live with that. But with Josh, it's you better get 5 or 6 guys. Come on, Burst hating again.
Glant is one of those.
I wasn't running anywhere.
You better get 5 or 6 guys around him that can make plays, right? Yeah. Because if not, he's going to break a tackle and then sling it. So you got to have one dude that's just going to go win inside and get him on the ground. But I think what they've done they've got Gabe Davis and Diggs, right? Diggs is a psychotic competitor, and I love watching him play football because all he wants to do is catch the ball and score touchdowns. He breaks tackles. He's mean. He runs hard. He catches everything. He finishes. Gabe Davis can block and get down the middle of the field. I liked, obviously they have Dawson Knox, and then they added that kid Dalton Kincaid from Utah. So now Josh has 2 really good outside receivers. He's got 2 guys inside that he can throw the ball to. They're so good at that, specifically in the passing game of turn around at 5 yards and I'm going to pin it on your chest and fall forward and get 7. That is just
free cheap yards. That
free cheap yards and
frustrate the hell out of you guys on
defense.
He
frustrates you, and what that does is it slowly brings defenses closer to the line of scrimmage, backers and nickels and corners and safeties. At that point you have to cover down every receiver, right? You got to cover the whole field, and then once you tighten that, then boom, Dorsey's just going to bang one over the top.
Yeah,
and so that's why I like watching their offenses, because it's you don't know where the ball is going. It's going to be boom, quick screen, boom, slant, boom, sit, boom, stick, boom, ball over the top, boom, Josh is going to run for 20, boom, now we're going to throw a heavy play action, 7-man protection, just throw it down the field. There's so much that they do that I don't know how you prepare for it. And they're fun. They're fun to watch. As far as the teams in the AFC, those are the guys that I like watching.
Yeah. So tell us, number one, how do you prepare for a guy like Josh? I mean, is it almost like you're hoping he just has one of those games like he did against the Jets where you force him to be ultra patient and make a mistake? Or, you know, I mean, what are you trying to do defensively?
I think you try to limit what scares you about him, right? So number one, you got to keep him in the pocket, and you got to get bodies around him. Because if you let him get out of the pocket, now it's a game for him. And he just plays pitch and catch 7-on-7. So we always kind of talked about when we play guys, like when we were playing Russ, it was always keep Russ, like move the pocket inside, like slowly collapse the pocket. We don't need to take any cheap inside moves. We don't need to try to beat a guy.
You're okay. You're okay if he has 4 or 5 seconds to throw, right? Because you don't want the last thing you want is to get him out of the pocket.
Yeah, you don't want to get him out of the pocket and then boom, now it's like a one-on-one perimeter tackle with like a nickel or a safety or a corner where Josh is 245 pounds. He's just going to stiff arm him and run away. So it's just kind of slowly push the pocket, put a point on it, slowly push it in on and make them uncomfortable and just keep guys in front of you. And the number one thing is you have to tackle. You have to tackle. So
do you avoid playing as much man when you play a quarterback like that?
Well, I mean, I think it all depends on what kind of man you play, right? If you play 2-man and you're in bad rush lanes, and he's just going to take 12 and fall down.
Yeah.
If you're going to play man, then you play the game of, right, well, do we send 5? We play dog, and then if you don't get there and you don't rush well, boom, now it pops. Or do you say, all right, boom, we're going to play man, rush 4 with a spy, and then now it turns into dog coverage on the back end. You know what I mean? It's so almost like it's like sim pressure, except you're not rushing the 5th guy. Yeah. So like I've been a zone guy, especially with scrambling quarterbacks, because you need guys to be able to see where he is. But those guys it's just a pain in the butt to deal with them because they go inside zone, bubble, quick, Q pull, zone read. Like it just slows everyone down so much.
A lot of they make your eyes be very disciplined, huh?
Yeah. Well, and then the other guy, you talk about eye discipline. I think Kyle Shanahan's legit.
Well, that's where I was going to go next. Him and Mike McDaniel. I mean, those guys.
McDaniel, LaFleur,
McVay too, right? I mean, we talked
Sean
a little bit about coaching.
That whole wide zone under center. Because the hardest thing is everybody. You're playing a lot of 8-man fronts against those guys. Boom. Now they go zoom motion. Now you got to bump gaps, and then as you're bumping, you're moving sideways and the ball gets snapped. And now it's a half second before you can get downhill. And then now you're used to getting downhill and now they run boot. And then he's so creative with zone schemes, gap schemes, how he gets guys the ball. A lot of times when they throw the ball, dudes are wide open.
Yeah.
And you
don't see that in the NFL.
And I think a lot of that, number one, San Francisco's they got Christian who's balling, Kittle and Ayuk and Debo and whoever else they got. Their offensive line's really good. I mean, they're stacked up as far as players are, but I think Kyle's just really, 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 really good. I don't think he does stuff like on accident. I don't think he does stuff just to do things. I think that he plays the long game. He might play the long game within a game. He might play the long game within a quarter or a drive. And he also plays the long game as far as the season goes. Like, all right, boom, I'm going to show people something this week. And then I know they're going to watch the tape and they're going to be in this. And then boom, I'm going to hit them on this. Like those dudes play so far ahead that it's like not fair.
Playing chess.
Well, think about it. We played Burst. We played against him 2012. He was in Washington. 2013.
Atlanta. When did he go to Atlanta?
No.
He was definitely there in 16. I know that.
I'm going to say that we played him in 12. I don't remember where he was in 13.
Cleveland after that.
And in 14, he was in Cleveland. And then 15, he was in Atlanta. And then he ended up in San Francisco after that. So, like, we played them just about every year. And you saw it every year of just like, we got to go play Kyle Shanahan. It's like that's what you always worried about. It's like this scheme is going to be such a pain in the butt. And I think he's always done a fantastic job of finding guys that fit his scheme. So like offensive linemen that are like athletic and can move and can change direction. Cause he's like, he would just get offense on hey, I need you to run to the second level and block a backer. Like, I don't need you to maul anybody, but I need you to like cover guys up, push them past the hole and be able to protect for a little bit. They're just really good.
That Falcons offense in 16 was fun to watch.
They were stacked. They're really good.
Julio in his prime.
Okay, flipping the script here. A team that your hometown team. What is going on in Cincinnati?
You know what? I'm trying to figure that out. Last year they started slow too.
Yeah.
I don't remember what their record through 4 games was, but it was kind of bleak, and everybody in Cincinnati was like, what is going on? And then I think Burrow had a press conference where he basically hit him with an Aaron Rodgers and said, it's going to be okay. And the rest was kind of history on him. But I'm not concerned with them. I have to tell you the truth. I haven't watched a lot of their games. I've followed kind of stats and stuff, but everybody knows them for their offensive side of the ball with Joe and Jamar and T and Mixon and all those guys. Those guys, they'll figure it out. Like Burrow's too good to not figure it out. They're too talented on the edge with those 2 receivers not to figure it out. So yeah, it's a slow start for them indeed. Obviously, everybody knows that Joe had that calf in training camp. I'm sure that especially at that position, you got to be able to get as many reps as you can. But I think that Burrow doesn't get rattled. He doesn't lose confidence. I think they're going to be okay. But yeah, I don't know what their record is. What is it? Are they 1-4?
They beat the Rams.
They're 1-4. So not the start that they wanted, but you look at their roster, you look what they have, you look at their coaches, you're like, they got 2 guys that can rush the passer, they've got 2 guys that can go win on the outside, and they've got one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. So yeah, they got taking their lumps to start the season. But the other thing that I always think about now is the season is 17 games, and that gives you a little bit more time in the beginning of the season to kind of figure it out, because you start 1-3 in a normal year. You're like, wow, I gotta figure this out. But now with an extra game, it just gives you a little bit more chance to slow play a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's see. Was there anyone else I wanted to touch on? I mean, we touched on the Niners, Dolphins a little bit. How about have you gotten to watch much of Baltimore this year? I know that they're obviously another AFC team that, they're always interesting because they have Lamar. And so I just, he was not healthy last year. I'm just curious what, again, from a defensive guy's perspective, playing against a guy like that, and he's even, different than Josh, because you almost can't keep him in the pocket.
Yeah, so yeah, I'll tell you the truth. I haven't watched a lot of games because the majority of the games I've been doing with the team, but I follow everything stat-wise. But he's a guy, you look at Josh. Josh has the threat to run, right? If you guys mess up and you rush incorrectly, he can get on the edge and make you pay, right? But when you have a quarterback that they design runs for, that's the scariest thing in the world, because they're going to have they always have an extra guy.
Yeah.
So we always talked about in the run game, if it's a one man run, everybody's got one gap. So majority of the run plays that they have are out of the gun, and maybe they have like a little cross action with the tight end or whatever. All that stuff straightforward because everybody can just shoot a gap. When you have Lamar, if you start shooting gaps, you're one gap short, and Lamar knows exactly where that hole is. He knows based on rotation, he knows based on line movement, where guys line up. He's like, boom. If they 8-man fronted and they gap down, boom, I'm going to pull it and I'm going to hit my head right in the gap where there's no one.
There's a chance that it's make one guy miss and it's a big one.
Or make no one miss. Like they might just, you know what I mean? So the thing that puts pressure on a defense is now I can't play anything with any kind of downhill mindset. Because I got to be like, all right, boom, is he pulling it? Because if he pulls it, now I got to fall back. Boom, now I'm going to fall back, but actually handed it. So now I'm a step slow into my actual gap. So instead of hitting him at 2 yards, you hit him at 3 yards, and then it pushes, and now it's a 5-yard gain on first down. So like that's the biggest difference for me. And I think and people always want to bag on him because he can't throw the ball. I mean, the dude can sling it, and I don't think he's afraid to throw it, and I think he's really good at it. And the one thing that fits their team so well is Mark Andrews. So it's all that zone read stuff and all that stuff. Everything that's over the ball and quick throws hits so much faster. In traditional drop back, you can get back there and sling it out wide. But with all the RPO and the run game that they have, that tight end threat across the middle, in the middle of the field, out like right on the hash, outside the hash, that's such a problem. And it puts so much stress on the defense because it's, all right, boom, zone read hand, zone read pull, zone read Poole looks like Lamar's going to run it, throw it over the top to Mark Andrews. Like, they have so much going on the offensive side of the ball. Before the ball really even moves anywhere, it just puts so much stress on defenses.
Yeah, no doubt. They're speaking as a Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews fantasy owner, I am glad to watch them having success again this year.
It's fun.
All right. That's enough AFC and nonsense football recap from Luke.
The hater.
All right. Last thing.
Yeah.
I want to hear your Super Bowl prediction.
Oh my gosh.
Super Bowl
prediction. I wanted this is who I want it to be, and this is who I think it can be. I want it to be Bills Niners.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think, I mean, just watching the Chiefs this year, do you think the Bills, I know that they've played a lot of close playoff games, but they got Mahomes. Do you think that the Bills have got a chance this year to dethrone them?
The one thing that I think will help the Bills this year is they're going to get Von Miller back. So I think he's going to be back hopefully in the next few weeks. That's the one thing that they didn't have at the end of the season that they were really relying on was a closer. So they've got some like I think Rousseau's a really good player. I think that Ed Oliver's been real disruptive early this season. He's a really good player. He's kind of Aaron Donald-ish, can do a little bit of everything. But you guys know, I mean, you need one dude at the end of the game that like doesn't really do a whole lot in the game, and then it's like, all right, Von, like go get one, and he's like, all right, and then he just goes out and he just goes and he beats a guy and gets a sack, and then the next play he gets a pressure and knocks him down, and then the third play he runs an inside game and clears somebody else out, and in 3 plays he just ruined the whole game.
Yeah,
that's what he can do, and everybody knows the Bills can score. And everybody knows the Bills just needed one more guy to rush the passer last year at the end of the season, and he's on the roster. So I think that, and then I just think San Francisco is so dangerous right now.
Absolutely.
You want to hear a bold prediction?
Let's hear it.
Sure.
Miami versus Detroit.
Okay. Well, please stay tuned for part 2 with our good buddy Luke Kuechly. Luke, thanks for coming on, man. We really appreciate it, and it's really fun to hear your insight from the other side of the ball because we really sort of have a one-track mind here. Although I hate to say that I'm on the same track.
Bryce has a one-track mind. You're open-minded, Glenn.
I mean, you have a one-track mind. Politicians open-minded, always saying the right things. I mean, truth hurts sometimes. Sometimes you got to address the fact that the offense can't score fucking touchdowns.
He's trying to defend himself.
This has been the Never Beens with 2 Never Beens and
future has been.
One sort of has been. Thank you.
Cool. Sweet dude.